I've never told anyone this full story, and I'm kind of surprised I'm sharing it now. I'm going to be telling you real details, real numbers, and the real backstory of how I became a pretty successful self-help personality and how I gave it all up. And how I decided to launch a little gaming YouTube channel with no subscribers and no video editing experience, and this is like only my 10th video I've ever edited. And why I'm so much more excited and happy about getting dozens of views on these videos than when I was getting millions of views back then. All throughout college, I knew I wanted to be a writer and work for myself. After college, I got a writing job at this jank-ass startup, the whole time scheming of how I was going to work for myself and be my own boss and create products that would help people. I had all these ideas, like to help college graduates get a job and give them career advice, maybe to sell online courses and coaching programs and write books about how to get a job in your 20s and whatever. A few years passed, and I tried really hard to get views and traffic and write and get people interested, but as is the case when everyone starts out doing something new, I sucked. My writing was terrible, for lack of a better word. It was cliche, it was nervous, it was boring. I went to grad school, then my wife and I sold everything we had and moved to South Korea to teach English. And that's where I became a really successful self-help personality, or guru, or whatever. I hate that term. Anyway, I was really motivated to not have to go back to some crappy job when we came back home from Korea. I was working as a telemarketer before we left. If that gives you any idea how worried I was, I have to go back to that. So every morning in Korea, every night, every weekend, every holiday, I worked on my craft and wrote all the time. I was writing about personal growth, self-improvement, and similar topics that interested me, sharing what I was learning from therapy and the books I was reading and the ways I was understanding life. And it started to work. I remember being in this cute little cafe called A Twosome Place, hilarious name, where I saw one of my articles had gotten over 600 views. My previous record was like 200 in like 4 years. And honestly, after that day, my views just went up and stayed really high for like 6 years straight. But let me finish first. Anyway, I was getting more views. I cobbled together this really cheap online course for like 27 bucks, and people miraculously started buying it. We were about to move back home, and by the first month or two after I came back to America, I was making like $5,000 a month or so just from this course, right? Bingo. I'd done it. I had made it. This was my job now. That's like 60 grand a year, right? Before that, the most views I'd ever gotten in a month was like 200, and after Korea, I was getting hundreds of thousands of views every month consistently. The most I'd ever made money-wise was nothing. I had literally never made a single penny. I did sell an ebook for like 99 cents, which I guess made 20 bucks over the years I sold it. But now I was making thousands of dollars a month just from writing and creating content. Anyway, I'll skip over a lot here. Over the next 5 years, things were going well. Not like enormously wealthy well. I was only ever making like 5 to 7 grand a month, but you know, well enough to have fun and live a fun life. I was offered a freaking book deal, and I saw my book in a freaking real life bookstore. My wife and I had no kids at the time. We were living in Los Angeles and just spending money, not really saving any, but I was in my 20s and I was successful, quote unquote, and things were working usually, and it was great. But the thing about having your income tied to an algorithm, like completely tied to it, is that once the algorithm changes, which it does all the time, your whole lifestyle can change. And that's exactly what happened to me. I remember it was January of 2019, and I had just gotten like 250,000 views in the previous month of December, and without me changing anything or doing anything differently, January 2019 I only got like 100,000 views. Still a lot, but I mean, less than half of the previous month, right? And for the next 12 months, my views just kept shrinking and shrinking. And a year later, my wife was pregnant. COVID was about to hit. I'd been working my ass off trying to diversify my income with like webinars and other sources of income, and then COVID hit. My wife was a waitress at a fancy restaurant in LA, and of course all the restaurants closed, so she wasn't working, making money. And we were relying pretty much all on my income to pay all the bills. And when she gave birth to our daughter a few months later, I could only afford to take off like 10 days. And that's not business days, it's like calendar days, right? Because if I stopped writing, we stopped making money and we needed to pay the freaking bills. Skipping ahead a couple more years, my views were still down, but I had picked up some freelance work and I was doing anything I could to make ends meet. I switched to selling high ticket coaching packages that required a ton of work to create, to sell, and to fulfill. And meanwhile, I was working harder and harder and my views were going lower and lower. And it seemed like the harder I worked, like instead of publishing my usual 10 articles a month, I'd do like 20, the less views I got. My views would decrease by like 50% some months. Anyway, January 2022 rolled around and it got to a point where the bravest thing I could do each day was to not curl up in the fetal position under my desk. My mental health was at its lowest point it had ever been. I was a shell of myself, just a terrified, angry, hyper-anxious ball of nervous discouragement with no plan and no hope. And I told myself all I had in me, I would do one last-ditch effort to make my business work, and I wrote like 25 full-length blog posts that month, and my views went down again. It was at that point I called it. It was all over. It would be insane of someone to continue doing that. No matter how many other self-help gurus and entrepreneurs would say things like, well, just keep going and push through. I gave up on my business, my dream, whatever. It just had to stop. Now, I'd been working for myself for like 7 years. I made it, quote unquote. And the thought of getting a job to work for someone else wasn't just like unusual or weird. It was like an antithetical truth to my freaking identity, right? My identity was my business, was working for myself, was being a successful writer and entrepreneur that sold stuff to other people and who wanted to be like me. That was my entire identity. But I'd been so beaten down by life and trying to make things work, I had made a total identity shift, and I had to, right? And I took a job at a tech company. And it was kind of great. For the first time in 5 years, I had a steady paycheck. We weren't paying $1,000 a month out of pocket to pay for our health insurance for our family. I could clock in and clock out and be done and not be constantly thinking about headlines and article ideas over dinner instead of paying attention to my wife and kid. I had great benefits. They gave me like 13 weeks of fully paid paternity leave when we had our second kid, and I kept thinking that someday I would get back to working myself, being on top again, whatever. But it's been over 2 years since that happened, and honestly, I don't miss it. I don't want to go back. I really don't. I don't want to write more personal growth or self-help articles. I don't want to go back to have my income tied to an algorithm. You know what I am obsessed about now? This gaming channel I made. I freaking love you guys. I had a lot of ideas of stuff I might do after I changed my business. You know, I was seriously considering selling baked goods because I freaking love baking desserts and eating them. I was seriously considering selling barbecue professionally because I can make some pretty good ribs. I was thinking of maybe dabbling in being a children's author and writing books for my kids about my kids, but I ended up making a gaming YouTube channel. As I'm writing this, it's been exactly 3 months since I posted my first video. I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm only like 2% better now. But I thought that first video would get like 6 views, 3 from my friends and 3 from me. Well, that first video has almost 500 views right now. My second video, I thought the same thing. I get like 20 views. That video just got like 20,000 views recently. My other videos are getting thousands of views as well, and there's lots of people, like you watch this maybe, that have watched them and have left comments that are so heartfelt and sincere that it's given me so much faith in this crazy idea I had to start a gaming YouTube channel in 2024, despite having 2 young kids, a full-time job, and several freelance part-time jobs. See, I love video games. I always have and hope I always will. I'm not out here trying to be some famous YouTuber and get a ton of views. I've lived that life where everything I posted was authentic content, but also like through a lens of how can I get people to click on this so I get paid? And I don't want that life anymore. I don't want to go back to that life. I'm keeping my 2 jobs, my full-time and freelance stuff, and I'm just doing YouTube at nights when the kids go down. Honestly, sometimes I even wake up like at 5 a.m. just to write these scripts because I'm so excited about the concept of talking about my favorite video games like Resident Evil 4 and Zelda and fighting games, whatever, with people like you, and seeing people like you get just as excited for these games as me. So I guess what I want to say, and what I want you to know, is that it's okay to not force yourself to do things when you don't want to. Like try and make some business work or keep riding towards some goal even when nothing is working and everything is telling you to stop. And that getting a lot of views is great because I got millions of views, but you kind of get used to it and it becomes less special and more about the money and trying to grow exponentially, where a month with lower views than the previous is an abject failure, and a month with more views than your peak is a success, and that's pretty much a business, which is what it was for me. And coming from someone who is writing all about self-help, I just want to tell you, it's alright to freaking love video games. Anyway, thanks for watching. And if you want to watch more content like this, be sure to click that subscribe button. I'm just one little guy with a little gaming channel, and each subscriber get is like seriously freaking awesome. So, alright, have a great day.